So today we are going to solve select k disjoint special substrings. It's a question number 3 from the weekly contest 437, and the question says that we are given a string s of length n and we have given integer k. We need to determine whether it is possible to select k disjoint special substrings. So a special substring is a substring where any character present inside the substring should not appear outside the string, and the substring is not the entire string S. Note that all the k substrings must be disjoint, meaning they cannot overlap. And we just need to return true and false. If it is possible, we can have k distinct and disjoint special substrings. So let's see an example. So in this string, we are given two, so we need to find two substrings here, and they should not overlap, as well as their characters inside the string should not be found either to the left of the substring and either to the right of the substring. So if you can see CD, we cannot find any C and D left and right of the substring, so it is a valid special substring. And similarly E and F, so we do found two substrings, and that's why we return true here. Okay, so as we can see here, the constraint says 5 into 10 power 4, so the upper bound is 10 power 4, which says that we can have an O of n solution and O of n log n as well. But let's see. So the for a substring to be a special string, there's no character that needs to be appear outside the string. So it simply gives me a hint that all the characters in that string should be present in that range only, in that substring only. It should not be included either to the right or the left, so it should be on there. And how we can find that is basically we can keep track of the occurrences of the string. So we can see that for the character a, if we want to make a string with a character a and should be special, then its character should not be outside. So we can see that a, the next occurrence is a here, but there's also one occurrence which is a here. So which simply means that only this substring is possible, and there is no character that is onto the left or onto the right. So which makes it a special a candidate for a special substring. But then we need to check for other conditions. Then we have see that we have other characters in that window as well, in that range for the character a, and these character extends the string further. So let's say we encountered b, and you can see the last occurrence for the b is here. So this indeed increase the length from this to this. So a next character is added because there are some characters between that valid candidate which further extended the length. So we need to also check and keep this in mind to track the extended length as well. Once we find we find the length, then we will see if it's not an entire string. So if it's not the entire string and all the characters are present and should not appear outside the string, then it is a valid special substring, and then we can like store it and we can do everything else. So as you can see, we cannot make a special substring with a because this will extend it to the whole string and we cannot have the entire string. So let's try for b again. If we take b and the first and the last occurrence of b is taking from here to here, but then uh, we can see that a is not there and we have an a here. So we also observe that there should be no character should be there which is either onto the left or onto the right. So we need to check that as well. And after that, we see if we can make a special valid substring, and if we then use to store it. Then if we have case counters of substrings that are valid, then we can return true. But there is one more point here, that all the case substrings must be disjoint, meaning they cannot overlap. So for checking the overlap, it's better if, to not store the whole strings, but we store a range for that substring, so that we can uh, you know get an idea where it is overlapping or it's not. Because when you have a range, you can check if it's overlapping or not, and that's how we can do this. Let's just do a dry run. Let's take the string a b c d b a e f a p, and the k is nothing but 2. So we need to find two substrings. So first thing first, as discussed, first we will track all the occurrences of the characters. So we will track the first and last occurrences of the characters. So for A, we have occurrences. First one appears at 0 index, second one appears at 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, okay, 8th index. Then for B, first one appears at first index and the second one appears at 9. For C, first appears at 2, second appears at 2, or we can call it last, sorry. First and last appearance. Now D, ignore this casing, this is automatically done by the Google Docs. First is at third index and last is at third index. Similarly, E, we have first, not E, it's again B. B is already taken care of, A is already taken care of, E. So E first is at 6th index and the last is at 6th index. Similarly for F, first is at 7th index and last is at 7th index. So we keep the track of all of the occurrences. So now we know that if we want to make a string from these characters, we need to, the string will have, must be in the range 0 to 8, so that to, in order to accommodate all the characters inside that string, and it should not have any character outside the string. So let's try with A. So as I have told, as we have seen, that we need to make a string from 0 to 8, but then the second step is we need to check for, let me type second here, check for middle characters if they extend the string further, string length further. So we have to check uh, that if we have any character between that range 0 to 8 that extend the string further, then we need to update that string length. So we can see that B here, so B extends the length because the last occurrence of B is at 9. So now the string becomes 0 to 9, and then after that we also need to check if there are any check for middle characters, if there are any characters that have characters uh, before the starting. So what I'm trying to say from this sentence is, uh, as you can see, 0 to 9 is not a valid special string. So we'll go for the next one, which is start from B. And now in this B, the range for it is 1 to 9. But 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 there is a character A here, which is character A has a first occurrence before the starting of B, which starts from 1. So if we have, it's again a not a valid string. If that happens, it's not a valid special string. We need to check for that as well. After that, we once we have checked the middle characters, and if everything is fine, we do find a string that is, let's see if we have a string for C. So we can see C's first and last character is there, and there is no such middle character that extend or that that appears throughout the string. Then it's a valid string. So once we found a valid string, in which case which found a C is a valid substring. So what we can do is we can put we can store this string interval range as interval. So we can store the string range as an interval in a vector or list. So once we have it, so we can say that okay, so there is a special substring which starts from 2 and ends at 2. Similarly, we have a special substring that starts at 2 and ends at 3, which is also, and there's a special substring that starts at 3 ends at 3. So this is all from this string. So basically 2 2 represents C, 2 3 represents C and D, and 3 3 represents, not 3 3, it should be 6 6. 6 6 represents E, and 6 7 represents EF. So after the whole after the whole algorithm runs, we do get this kind of a list of intervals, and in these intervals can overlap for sure. Intervals can overlap. So we need to do one last step. We need to check in the list to find non-overlapping ranges of intervals, and uh, we can increment the count. We can track, even keep a track of it in a counter variable. Finally, nothing you need to do. Once you have the count, you just need to check if the counter, if it is greater than or equal to k, which simply means that we have k special substrings, or more than k special substring, which is both good, and we will return true or false accordingly. So enough talking. Let's see the code. So what we did here is we first created two vectors, first and last, of size 26 because we only have lowercase English letters, and we initialize them with -1 because initially we don't have any first and last occurrences or any character. So we just make these two vectors for tracking the occurrences. Then we have calculated the size. Then we started and we are tracking the occurrences. Says first and last of each character. So if we don't have a first uh, occurrence, then we update it, and we always update the last character. So in that way we track the occurrences. Then we go through the list, we go through the string again. This time we need to find a range of that special substring. So we maintain the variable start, and it's going through the whole string. Then we check if that is the first character or not. So why we did this? Because we want to start the string making process from that first character itself. We cannot make a string from this character a, which basically it is not a first occurrence because first occurrence of a is at zero index. We cannot take a middle character and start creating the a valid special string, because obviously it is not going to be become a substring as this first occurrence is outside the string. So just a normal check to discard such string. And once we found that okay, we have a starting character, then we check its last occurrence and we find a range, just like this. For a we found that 0 and 8 is the range, so we did the same here, found that 8 is the last occurrence. Then what we check is we go through that range and check for extension. Basically we check if there are any middle character that extends that range further. In our case of a, we found a b, and b is extending our range to uh, 0 to 9. So that is what we are doing here. We are just creating a variable end which have the last occurrence, and then we are maximizing it, extending it with the middle characters. Once the extension is completed, so now it's we have a candidate for a special string now, which needs to validate if it's a valid or not. So we again go through that candidate and check if it's valid. So how we are checking it? We are checking if it's not if there's any character which first occurrence is below the starting point, which is our this step. Check for middle characters, that there any character that just come appear before starting. So we do that, and if it is, so we update the is valid from true to false, and we break out a string. So if it is not valid, so the candidate is not valid, then we simply don't do anything, we continue. Or otherwise, if the candidate is valid but the candidate takes the whole string, then also we continue, we don't do anything. And if it meets all the conditions of the special string, we make that interval, and we have a list on top to keep track of all the intervals of special substring, and we keep track it, we push it into that list. So once that list is created, after whole processing, we sort the intervals at the end, and after that we sort on the basis of the second character, so that we can check for overlapping or not. So then we have this basic simple loop that checks for the overlapping. We keep track of the end of the interval, and we always check that if it's not overlapping. So if the next substring's first starting point is greater than the last substring ending point, that it's not overlapping, so we increasing the count, and we are also updating the last interval for that substring. And lastly we just return uh, if it is greater than or equal to k. So that's it for this question, and this is how we solve it. If you have any queries, you can like put it in the comments section, and I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.